And I'm good to have you along with me on another day as we continue to serve the Lord every day. This is the day the Lord hath made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Boy, I'm glad that he made this day. No matter what goes on in the day, we can always be assured that God is involved in our day. The question is, are we going to let God guide us through this day or not? That's the big question. I hope that you do. We had a good service last night here at the Maranatha Baptist Church. The Miracle of Maranatha continues to roll on. Always good to have people in attendance, visitors even last night. In last night's service, that was exciting to see. God continuing to work in our church. I always enjoy seeing how God does things in the middle of summertime as it's going on. These 3 weeks are always a little bit, you're off and on just because people going out of town, schools out, people are going on vacation. And yet we still had a great attendance last night and watched God work in the services. And I'm always excited seeing that God can still work no matter what goes on, how we just need to stay in the work, stay busy, and God will certainly bless us. Well, today, I want to talk to you about scare tactics against faith. In 1 Samuel chapter 17 and verse 8, the scripture says, "And he stood and cried unto the armies of Israel, and said unto them, Why are ye come out to set your battle in array? Am not I a Philistine, and ye servants to Saul? Choose you a man for you, and let him come down to me." These were the words of Goliath. Goliath used the same scare tactics against Israel that Satan often uses against God's people. Goliath used his size to intimidate the faith of God's people. And it worked with almost everyone but one person. That was David. Certainly Goliath was a huge man. I mean, he was 9 feet 9 inches tall, a big man. And it was was a Philistine like every other Philistine in the Philistine army. And yes, he was to be reckoned with like all the other Philistines if they were to win this great battle. However, his scare tactics should not have been heeded because the God who was with Israel was far greater and far more powerful than Goliath had ever thought. David recognized these scare tactics against faith. And he would not let these scare tactics, to shake his faith. David remembered the lion and the bear from the past. And he knew that God's power and faithfulness had not changed. He knew that the God who delivered him in the past would deliver him in the present if he acted on faith like he did in the past. It mattered not how big Goliath was or the intimidation tactics that he used to try to scare David. David would have nothing to do with these intimidation efforts because he believed his God was very capable of helping him defeat Goliath. Now, everyone who is saved and has had to act on faith at some point. Because it took faith for you to get saved. You had to act on faith. And the God that honored your faith to save you is very able to honor your faith when something challenges you and faith says you got to do something great for him, but it's going to be a challenging task. That same God that saved you can help you with this task. You have likely attempted something by faith since you were saved, and God honored that faith when you stepped out of it. Now, for instance, if you're a tithing believer, you stepped out by faith the first time that you tithed. You were scared to death, but you did it. Now, let me ask you something. Did God provide your needs when you first started tithing? Well, and did he honor his word and honor your faith that he would pay you back and he would make sure that you're cared for if you tithe? Yes, he did. God has honored your faith. Now, and that same God that honored that faith when you tithe, get this now, will honor your faith in whatever you step out to do for God by faith. Now, here's our common problem that many of us face today. We have seen God do great works because of our faith in the past. We've seen that. But a giant comes along that seems to be greater than what our faith was in the past. Now, this giant that we face today seems bigger. And this giant is a reality. It is not something that we're just imagining. It's there. It's not that you're imagining it because you see this giant every day. Now, when we face a new giant, we find ourselves fearing it and stepping back to hide from it, or we find ourselves worrying about this giant because we face its effects every day. Now, my friend, never let the intimidation efforts of giants that you face stop you from attempting great works of faith for God. These intimidation efforts are Satan's scare tactics that he uses to get you to stop trusting God so that you will stop living by faith. Now, you've got to remember, the moment you stop living by faith is the moment you stop trusting God. And it's the moment that Satan starts winning in your life. Now, the best way to face the intimidation efforts that Satan uses to get you to fear is to go forward and face the giant head on. Until you get past the giant that you face today, you will stay right where you are at that moment. You'll never move forward. In fact, I'll say you won't even stay right where you are. You'll start sliding back because you're either going forward or you're sliding back. God knows that giant is there screaming his intimidation scare tactics at you. But God is hoping that you will trust him enough to continue walking by faith so he can see his mighty power through you to defeat the giant. So don't let the giants stop you, my friend. Don't let their intimidation scare tactics kind of hold you back and cause you fear. Let those scare tactics motivate you to continue by faith, because God will not allow his name to be shamed by those who trust him. Listen to me. God says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart. Lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. God's going to be there for you. He always has. The psalmist said he's never seen God's seed begging bread or God forsaking them. God never does. Jesus Christ, the same yesterday, today, and forever. He's always the same. And how we as God's people need to say, okay, God's always been there for me. He's never failed me. So let the giant scream, because the God who made that giant, the God who gave Goliath the air to breathe was bigger than Goliath, and David knew it. And the God that saved you from hell is bigger than anything you can ever face. So trust God no matter what your giant is, whether it be health, whether it be family problems, whether it be finances, whether it be civil issues, or job issues. No matter what it is, God's able. God is capable. Trust him. Step out by faith. Attempt something great for God, and God will be there for you. And you'll get to see the rewards of faith if you just trust the Lord. Well, I hope this helps you now when the giants come screaming at you. But let's remember today that let's be good to everyone. Everyone's having a tough time.